A man named Tony Gamilton came to a sports coach and asked him to enroll his son, Stephen, in a Christian school and a football team, as well as another boy, Michael. He is not Tony's son, but the man took pity on him. Michael has a very difficult fate. He comes from a troubled family. Seeing Michael outside the window, Coach Bert Cotton was shocked by his size. Nevertheless, Bert tried to do everything possible to get the boys enrolled in school. The school administration was willing to give Stephen a chance, but Michael had no hope. His IQ is 80, he is very illiterate and problematic. Bert insisted that Michael should attend school and receive an education. If they don't help him, no one will. Soon Michael, whose exact age is unknown due to the lack of documents, came to class. He looked older than all his classmates. The teacher handed out practice tests to the students to check their knowledge. Michael couldn't answer a single question. He only drew a cute little boat. At night, Michael overheard an argument between Tony and his wife. The woman insisted that her husband kicked the teenager out of the house because they themselves were barely making ends meet. Meanwhile, a woman named Leigh Anthony Tohey, who is a successful designer, came to watch her daughter Collins's volleyball competition. Her husband Sean and son SJ were already here. When the game was over, Sean noticed Michael picking up the leftovers left by the spectators. Teachers don't understand why the school administration enrolled Michael, as he can barely write his own name. However, Mrs. Boswell disagreed. Recently, she found Michael's essay in the trash, in which he laid out all his innermost thoughts. Michael tries to find common ground with the other children, but everyone avoids him except SJ, who told him that his father used to be a basketball star. Leanne noticed from the car that her son was interacting with the teenager who looked frightened. Later, she asked the son who he was. The school principal, acting as delicately as possible, told Michael that the police had called them today. It turned out that Michael's father passed away. It took the police a long time to find any relatives to notify. Michael doesn't even remember the last time he saw his father. Once again, the boy is homeless and forced to spend the night in a public laundromat. Mrs. Boswell is impressed that Michael has finally learned something. In the teacher's opinion, the boy is different from the other students and does not read well, but he is far from stupid. This evening, the Twohy family, returning from a school play, saw Michael on the street. He was dressed very lightly, despite it being autumn. Leanne asked her husband to stop the car, and realizing the teenager had nowhere to go, offered him to join them. Michael was very embarrassed, but agreed. Seeing the Twohy family's luxurious house, he was amazed. Leanne allocated a guest room for Michael and wished him good night. Michael was very confused by such kindness from strangers. Leanne couldn't stop thinking about the homeless teenager. The husband advised her to let the situation go until the morning. Upon waking up, Leanne saw the neatly folded bedding on the couch, but the teenager was nowhere to be found. Leanne caught up with him on the street and invited him back to the house to celebrate Thanksgiving with them. Michael had never seen so much delicious food. Leanne noticed that despite his hard fate, Michael was a very modest and tactful teenager. The family sat down at the table and said a prayer. Later, Leanne took Michael to his house so he could pick up his things. The neighborhood was very disadvantaged. Michael asked Leanne not to get out of the car because it might be dangerous. It turned out that his mother's apartment had been seized by the court for debt. Now Michael has no idea where his mother is. Leanne took Michael to a clothing store to get him something to wear for the first time. For Michael, it was completely unfamiliar for someone to care for him without expecting anything in return. The next day, Leanne brought her son and Michael to school. Later, she met with the friends and told them about her visit to the other side of the city, where poverty and crime prevail. In the evening, Leanne asked Michael if he wanted to stay here. He admitted that it was the best place he had ever been to. Soon, Leanne met with the school representative to talk about Michael. It turned out that he had significant problems with learning and communication. Leanne gave Michael his own room. She was very surprised to learn that he had never even had his own bed. Leanne was in shock for a long time from what she had heard. She doesn't want to believe that the world can be so cruel. Mrs. Boswell and other teachers began to personally tutor Michael. Soon, he started to make early progress. Michael found out that the Toy family owned a chain of restaurants, and today they are having dinner at one of these restaurants to celebrate Michael's success in school. Now, thanks to his good grades, he will be able to qualify for the American soccer trials. As the family left the restaurant, Michael hugged the waiter. It turned out to be his brother, Marcus. Michael didn't even know where he lived and hadn't seen him in years until that moment. In the evening, Leanne read the children a fairy tale. Michael's mother never read him books, so he felt happy now, just like Leanne. Before bed, Leanne shared with her husband her plans to do charity work to help children like Michael. It was Christmas time. Michael had already become almost a member of the family. Leanne's friend didn't understand why she needed such responsibility, but on the other hand, they admired her kindness and selflessness. Leanne wanted to adopt Michael, but it didn't make sense because, as it turned out, he would turn 18 in a few months. In the evening, Leanne asked her daughter directly if she was uncomfortable with Michael living with them. Colin said she didn't mind at all and didn't care what other children at school thought of the situation. Michael gradually started to connect with other children. It was especially difficult for him to communicate with peers, but Colin supported him in everything. Soon, it was time for tryouts. Coach Bird believes that Michael will become a star in American football because physical strength is very important here. However, Michael still didn't understand the essence of the game. Most children from troubled families are aggressive, but Michael, on the contrary, turned out to be very kind and afraid of accidentally harming other players. This surprised the coach a lot. SJ helped Michael prepare for the next tryouts. The boys not only had fun, but also noticeably improved Michael's athletic skills. In the evening, Michael asked Leanne to help him get a driver's license so he could have documents with his name on it. She agreed, but did not expect that there was no one named Michael or her in any database. Leanne intends to do Michael's documents, pay for his insurance, and take custody of him. She discussed this with her husband and decided to find out more about Michael's past, as he hardly ever talks about his family. The employee of the social center said that there was almost no information about Michael because his documents were lost. It is only known that his mother has at least a dozen children. The woman leads an immoral lifestyle and has repeatedly had problems with the law. Leanne tracked down Michael's mother, Denise O'Hare, to talk to her. The woman was surprised that Leanne was caring for his son without receiving any benefits from the state. Denise also revealed that Michael constantly ran away from every orphanage he was placed in to find his mother. Despite everything, he loved her. Denise broke down in tears, feeling guilty. She couldn't even remember who Michael's father was at first. It turned out his father's last name was Williams. Leanne took Denise's hand. Soon she and her husband and children announced to Michael that they wanted him to become a member of their family. Leanne and Sean intended to officially take custody of him. Michael felt truly happy. After a while, he obtained his driver's license. To celebrate the occasion, his new parents gave him a car. SJ explained the rules of American football to Michael again. They became like real brothers. But one day, while driving, Michael got distracted and got into an accident with SJ. Fortunately, the boys were only slightly scarred and bruised. Michael feels guilty, but Leanne assures him that everything is okay. It turned out that SJ was unharmed only because of Michael, who changed the direction of the airbag. The American football training continues, but so far Michael has not made significant progress despite the coach's efforts. Leanne decided to take matters into her own hands and asked Michael to imagine that his team is his family, and he should protect his teammates as he would his brother. To Bert's surprise, it worked. Soon there was the American football competition. The whole family came to support Michael. The players fiercely fought for first place. At first Michael and his team were losing, but then the balance of power shifted sharply. In the end, Michael, remembering Leanne's advice, led his guys to victory. SJ recorded the whole game on disc. When coaches from all over the state saw the video, they became very interested in Michael. Soon the coaches came to Burt Cotton to see Michael play in person. They were impressed and each of them wanted Michael for their team. If the guy gets good grades, he could become a member of the university football team. Leanne and Sean received a lot of offers from different universities. Michael's success in sports could give him a chance to get a scholarship, but he needed good grades on his certificate. The Tsui family hired a tutor, Miss Sue, and daily lessons began. At first, Michael didn't believe in himself and couldn't understand most of the material, but Miss Sue instilled confidence in him. Soon, coach Nick Saban visited the Tsui family home to meet and talk with Michael. Nick invited Michael to Louisiana, where he could become a successful student and member of the football team. Michael continued his training, and coaches from different states and universities constantly visited the Tsui family's home. Meanwhile, Michael tried to improve his studies. He was bombarded with so many offers that he was at a loss to know which university and which team to choose. In any case, he needed to get a good certificate. Mrs. Boswell was pleasantly surprised by Michael's academic success, especially since he couldn't solve a single test problem less than a year ago. Each coach tried to bribe Michael with beautiful promises, but he was now only concerned with his studies as everything depended on it. Miss Sue advised Michael to choose the University of Tennessee, where there was a very good natural sciences department. The day came when Michael had to make a choice. Despite everything, he chose the University of Mississippi, where his foster parents had studies. The press followed this significant event. The literature teacher was the only one who refused to give Michael a good grade in his subject. Leanne tried to negotiate with him, but the teacher said that Michael had a chance only if he wrote a final essay excellently. Sean is pretty good at literature, so Miss Sue suggested that he himself teach Michael. The guy discussed with his foster father one work that touched him deeply. It was about people who, on the orders of their leader, went to a knowingly losing battle and died. Michael found it amazing that all these people valued courage and nobility above their own lives, and he wrote about it in his essay. His literature teacher read it and found his thoughts very profound. At the end of the school year, the principal handed out certificates to the graduates. Michael did well. His grade point average was high. Leanne and Sean were very proud of their adopted son. Later, the family hugged Michael, congratulating him on his successes. One day, Leanne received a call from a child rights commissioner who invited Michael in for a talk to ask him some questions. Leanne accompanied her adopted son to the office. She had a bad feeling about it, which she told to her husband over the phone. The employee believes that Leanne and Sean, who previously made donations to the University of Mississippi, exploited their adopted son for publicity. Now, after Michael's case, recruiters from different states will adopt young athletes from troubled families to force them to enroll in their universities. The National Student Organization intends to investigate this case. According to the employee, the Tsui family specifically adopted Michael to make him play for Ole Miss. Michael, being a naive guy, believed these words and accused his adoptive mother of using him all this time. In a state of upset feelings, Michael ran away. While his adoptive parents were going crazy with worry, Michael decided to return to the neighborhood where he grew up to find his biological mother. But Denise was not there. An old acquaintance offered Michael a drink. All these guys don't care about their future and lead an immoral lifestyle. When one of them began to speak ill of Michael's new family, he couldn't take it and attacked him. The guy had a gun, but thanks to his size, Michael easily scattered all his opponents. Horrible memories from his childhood, when he lived in these terrible conditions, flashed before his eyes. Leanne is searching for Michael everywhere. The guys from this dangerous area don't scare her at all. Suddenly, Leanne receives a call from Michael, who called her Mom. She immediately came to pick him up from the public laundromat, where he used to spend the night when he had nowhere else to go. Leanne wonders how Michael, who grew up amidst all this poverty and crime, didn't become like those guys. Despite everything, he remained kind and compassionate. Leanne asked Michael if he really wants to play football. The guy said it's his dream. Later, he met with the employee and said he wants to play for the Ole Miss team because his family also loves this university. There were never any selfish motives. The whole family, as well as Miss Sue, accompanied Michael to the university. Leanne can't hold back her tears because Michael had become a son to them. They hugged. Next, we'll learn about the real heroes of this story. Michael became a top Ole Miss player, and thanks to Misu, earned a degree.